dropping 2 points and a crazy end to the game here, Adrian, as well. Given the fact that we should have had a penalty, it certainly felt that we should have had a penalty. And then that mad scramble at the end in which the post was struck and Burnley somehow escaped.
Yeah, look, Burnley can't believe their luck. They've got out of jail, haven't they? Arsenal should have scored 4 or 5 goals. Should have had a penalty, and yeah, just luck wasn't on Arsenal's side today. I think obviously refereeing calls didn't go with them. Yeah, no complaints about the penalty being overturned for Burnley, but I felt that we had an absolute stonewall penalty denied. And look, at the end there, just summed things up, didn't it? We absolutely, we did everything but score. I think we really were too wasteful in front of goal today. But I think David hit on the right point in commentary. In the second half, for about half an hour of that second half, we allowed Burnley to make it the type of match that they wanted it to be. And effectively that ate up too much time for Arsenal, because when Arsenal played and when Arsenal asserted their style on Burnley, we were too good for them. And on another day, we'd have scored 4 or 5. It's just a matter of sustaining that over the period of 90 minutes and would have won quite comfortably. I feel pretty choked really that Arsenal didn't get 3 points here. They deserved it.
I mean, I've got to talk about the penalty. I could not believe that penalty was not awarded. Not the Peters one that was rescinded, obviously, and the red card was taken back. But the handball from Peters, when he battered it down in front of Pepe. The first incident I didn't quite see, and Pepe thought it was a penalty. The second incident, just a split second later, I mean, his arm is outstretched. I don't understand why that. I've got a lot of sympathy for VAR. I'm not a VAR hater, but I don't understand why that one wasn't given. Do you?
No, don't understand it. The official line, I believe, is proximity, as in that the ball hit him from close range, but the ball bounced up. It wasn't blasted at him from close range, and his arm is sideways. His arm is absolutely. It's about as unnatural a position as you could wish to be. Did he gain an advantage by making his silhouette? We've heard that. How many times have we heard that, making his silhouette bigger? Yes, of course he did. What he has to do, or what VAR has to do, and let's not let VAR off the hook here. What VAR has to do is refer it and just say, look, we're not sure, even if they're not sure, or we think this isn't a pen, but you go and have a look. Do we want some person in Stockley Park making a call here that ultimately decides the game when the actual referee, the guy in the middle that's responsible for this match, does not have a clue what happened? How can that be right? He does not know what happened with that handball because he clearly didn't see it because he didn't give the pen. It's just ridiculous and it's inconsistent, and I'm absolutely fuming about that decision.
I mean, we're going to talk a little bit more about it shortly because we've got 1 or 2 tweets, obviously, from Arsenal supporters regarding that. But let's talk about the things that, as we usually do, coming out of games that we have learned from this fixture. I think we can list the first thing, which is we saw both the pros and cons from playing out from the back today. Now, and I think this is important, obviously, because we've given the goal away. But the move, the goal, our goal started from that as well. This is from Rob Geverts, who says, you have to accept the risk reward from playing out from the back. Arsenal's first goal came from a similar position, breaking the press that led to the goal. They're going to give away 2 or 3 goals a year from mistakes. Like Xhaka's, but the hope is that you score 10 or 15 more at the other end. James says, thing is, you can't praise Arsenal for playing it out from the back, then call them stupid when they do it and get punished. So many times this approach leads to chances. Occasionally, it will lead to an error. I think they're 2 very, very good points. And you'd like to think that you don't make mistakes. Unfortunately, a mistake like that makes it look worse because we've seen teams being pressed when they've been playing out from the back and lose the ball, say, in a wide area and it leads to a goal. This just looks a bit more comical and it's more
human
complacent than anything else.
It's human error. Look, players make mistakes, don't they? It happens, and yeah, he just made a very poor choice. Granit Xhaka of pass. I think the right play would have just been to go back to Bernd Leno, who sit clear. It's as simple as that. That's what should have happened. But yeah, he looked at the play, looked at David Luiz, and still played the pass anyway. And yeah, yeah, he wouldn't do it if he had the opportunity again. I did a piece researching this not so long ago, and the average team progresses far further up the pitch in possession of the ball by playing out from the back, by taking short kicks.
Rather than punting it long.
Yeah, you progress on average 50 to 60 metres up the pitch, whereas a long goal kick, it's a lottery, and that comes down to 38, 39. I think that more goals are scored from it than conceded, but not by many. Not by many. I think Arsenal have certainly scored far more goals from it than they've conceded. It won't earn you 10 to 15 goals a season. It'll earn you 4 or 5, and it might cost you 1, 2, or 3. So it's a choice. But Mikel Arteta's very keen on this, and it did. Our goal today started with Bernd Leno and playing out from the back. So you can't have it both ways, can you? That's just a simple human error. It's a bad decision. It's not really down to the tactics, in my opinion.
It's not, is it? You usually, as I said before, when you see players make mistakes from playing out from the back, it's usually when there's a significant press and someone's caught on the ball, rather than a pass from inside your own penalty area going to opponent 6 or 7 yards.
I wouldn't want to be in Granit Xhaka's shoes, with someone breathing down my neck, inside my box, a few yards away from my own goal. It's not the kind of place you want to receive a pass, let me tell you. But so I think that maybe Leno would have been better served just clearing his lines anyway.
It's probably where it was as well, isn't it? I mean, sort of central rather than sort of a wide area. Yeah. If any ricochets happen in situations like that, there's a good chance it's going to go into.
And to be honest, look, when Xhaka looks up and he sees the player in the way, Chris Wood, you know what he should do? If he doesn't feel he can go back to Bernd Leno, he should literally just whack it out of play. Just whack it out of play. You might look an idiot, but you haven't given a goal away. So, it's one of those, in those kind of real pressure situations where you've got nowhere to go, just boot it off. Simple as that.
Second thing that we've learnt from today's 1-1 draw against Burnley is as follows. Oba's return to scoring form has come at the perfect point in the season. We talked about this at half time. Did have an opportunity in the second half as well. Maybe not as dominant, obviously, in the second half, but he looks something like back towards his best, doesn't he?
Yeah, I thought he had a good game. I thought his first half was excellent. Aubameyang, obviously a very, very good goal, lovely team move, but also a good individual sort of climax to the move with the skill, the sort of double shuffle, and then going near post. The other chance is sort of instinctive and it's close range, and XG I think had it down as a gilt edge chance, your 59% chance of scoring, but I disagree with that. I think how it happened so quickly, he's falling backwards. I think he would have done extremely well to have sort of manufactured the contact into the small part of the goal he had to aim at. So yeah, I don't think that was a bad miss. I thought, he's looking sharp. His goal record is very good of late. He is our main striker now, but it was interesting to see Lacazette come on and play in behind him or sort of off of him, and that worked pretty well. And to be honest, on the way the second half was going, I felt like we could have brought him on early. He came on pretty early, Lacazette, but I think it was one of those, even if it was at half-time or just after half-time, I think it was a type of scrappy match where you needed Lacazette to back into players and hold the ball and link it. Pepe came off the bench and could have scored a couple of goals as well. I mean, some miss, wasn't it? The air shot. It's a crazy game for Arsenal to draw this one. They could easily have scored 5.
We'll talk about missed chances in a bit because we've got 1 or 2 tweets as well. Just one other question on Aubameyang. When we see him in starting lineups from here on in, do you want to see him play as the central striker? Do you expect him to play as the central striker, or do you think he's going to be left-hand side some games through the middle of the games? What do you want? What do you think?
It is a toughie. It might be a case of...
Because if we're saying he's back to form, if we're saying, look, this is Oba, he's back on it, do we want to see him through the middle as we saw him first?
Well, yeah, look, I don't think we have enough goal scorers in the team. That is my one slight criticism of our starting lineups, because if you're going to have one of Aubameyang or Lacazette, then I think Pepe has to play, because the other guys are good technical players and creators, but they don't score that often. Saka is He's not yet a proven goal scorer. He's scored more this season, but I think he's more of a creator. Same with Ødegaard, same with Williams, same with Smith Rowe, same with all of those guys, really. I think at least 2, if not 3, of Aubameyang, Lacazette and Pepe or Martinelli. Those are your 4 goal scorers. I think 2 have to play, in my opinion. Otherwise, there's too much resting on Aubameyang's shoulders in terms of the goal scoring burden. So I think it's a horses for courses approach depending on the opponent. We saw Chelsea play Werner up front against Liverpool because they knew they'd have a high line. And I think it might be a case of Arsenal going with Aubameyang up top in certain matches, and sometimes it suits Lacazette and you can put Aubameyang on the left. That's my personal opinion. But 2 or 3 of those 4 players that I mentioned should be in the quartet, in my view.
Whoever plays, we've got to be more clinical in front of goal. David mentioned it in commentary. You mentioned at half-time. If you're creating chances, you've got to score a certain amount, a certain percentage. Klaus says, typical Arsenal game for me, we create many chances, but we're never clinical. Then it comes back to bite us. We've certainly seen that over the last few seasons. And Dexter says, not being clinical in front of goal and wasting good opportunities is going to come back and haunt us in these kind of games. It's exactly what happened today. We had chances before the equaliser. We had chances after it. And I know we're going to have a bit of a VAR rant shortly. But regardless of that, you know, if Thomas Partey scores in the first half, if Bukayo Saka scores in the first half, or we take one of those sort of mad scrambles towards the end the game, then we don't have to focus too much on decisions that didn't go our way. We've got to be more clinical. And
absolutely.
Some teams are, and we don't appear to be in situations where we really need to be.
We shouldn't be relying on penalty decisions to win that game. No, I agree. Pepe had an open goal that he missed. I think the shout that we did get a penalty that was then taken away from us, even though it's on the volley, it's quite close range. He'll probably look at that and think, I should have scored that. We had numerous shots blocked. Saka in the first half, lovely 1-2, gets in. It's a great chance. I mean, it's a pretty easy chance for a Premier League player of Saka's quality, and yet those are just a handful. You know, there were others as well. Look, over the course of this season, we've created a lot more chances than we did under Unai Emery, but we've been less clinical. That, you know, the stats tell you that very, very clearly. Under Unai, we were really clinical, but we hardly created anything. So it's one of those when it clicks and when you get both, then we might be a really dangerous team, and we will be a very dangerous team. And I think we all know that we can be a very, very dangerous team. We've got the players, but yeah, look, luck and coolness in the big moments have certainly cost us a lot this season. A lot of goals have been spurned.
Yes, but speaking of it, Unai was going absolutely mad on the bench last night. I don't know if you saw it. Villarreal were a goal up away at Valencia with about 5 minutes to go, and they got beat 2-1. He was absolutely doing his knots, so he's taken that with him to a certain extent. Anyway, third thing. The stage is set. We'll take some tweets on this. VAR and the handball laws have a huge impact on us once again. We've been the wrong side of these on a number of occasions over the course of the last few years. Paul says, so it looks like the rule changes come in today. I thought it had. I was going mad. Not in July. Pen all season except today. I'm sure all fans feel like VAR goes against their team, but Arsenal have had some shocking goals against them since it's been introduced. And this is from Phil, who says the Arsenal pen awarded really shouldn't have needed VAR. Maybe a case of rest now. Afraid to give anything without a second opinion. I certainly think that's a thing. I certainly think it's a thing when it comes to assistants, because they know that they've got to get out when it comes to being offside or not. So a lot of the time the flag stays down. They'll see what happens, because if it goes up and then players stop, there's no get out for them then if they got it wrong. But in terms of referees, I think he's got a point with that one. We touched on it before. I thought rule changes simply because I saw the headline yesterday, but you're right. It comes in July, doesn't it, AD? So this should have been a penalty, and it's so frustrating. You know, video assistant referees, they're magnifying things, and I know people complain about pixels and whatever, but it's the same thing done in a different way, and I haven't really got that much of an issue with it, because if you want to get it right, you're going to have to get it down to a pixel for an offside situation. I've not got a massive issue with that. It looks a bit stupid, but this is what we've bought the tech for. What I've got a problem with is that, as you pointed out and I described, hopefully, Peters has got his arm out like a teapot here, and it's hit his arm. He's made himself bigger. It's a penalty. And I was absolutely convinced that when the ball went dead, a penalty would be given, and it wasn't.
Look, old rules, current rules, future rules, it's a penalty. And I don't care what you say. That has been given as a penalty for decades, and no one has complained. He's got his arm out and it hits it. It's not blasted at him. He's got his arm out sideways and he hits him, and it stops Pepe latching onto the ball. It's a penalty. Now, my huge frustration here is that the actual referee, the man in charge of the game, has not been given an opportunity to have a look at it. The man in charge of the game,
he can ask for that, can't he? He can say, I need a look.
He did not know what happened until the final whistle blew and he went back to his changing rooms. That is wrong. That is just outrageous, in my opinion. The VAR official should not be refereeing the game from Stockley Park on such a big call and making such a controversial call without having the second opinion of the actual referee. It's outrageous. Proximity is the official line, I believe, that's come out of Stockley Park. I don't buy it. I'm sorry. I don't buy it. It wasn't blasted at him. His arm was in the most unnatural position. His silhouette was made so much bigger than it needed to be. It's a penalty in the old days, now, and in the future when they change the rules again. And what really rankles is that earlier on in the season, handballs were being given for far less than that.
Absolutely.
And we all get the same points at the end of the season. It's not a different season. I think during the same season, you have to go with the same policy. And they haven't. And it's cost Arsenal, and that could cost Arsenal a place in Europe. It could cost them a place in the Champions League. We'd love to be in that position, but it could be massively costly to us, that call. And I think it's outrageous.
I'm just looking at one or two images online as we speak here, and I mean, we're always told that if your arm's by your side, if you're making yourself bigger, and all the things that you've just said, and why this one, and it's not been blasted at him because it's almost like the second phase, isn't it? Yeah. He's already appealed for one penalty, which he didn't get, and I've not actually seen that incident again.
No, I didn't think that was.
So it drops to him again, and as it drops to him, it bounces up, and
drops on his arm.
And Peter says,
It's honestly, I just can't. If there's anyone out there that thinks that's definitely not a penalty, like, just let us know. Let us know, because I just know
what we've got wrong here.
I just don't think there's anyone that likes football, that wants to see, that understands football, that's watched football for any period longer than a day, that doesn't know that that's a penalty. I mean, it's Peters and Burnley. They must be laughing their socks off in the changing room. How did we get away with that? They'll be buzzing. It beggars belief. And I think Mikel Arteta, if he's not outraged by it, then I think, he's a better man than I am, because I think that he once he sees the replays of that, he will be fuming. I just can't see how he won't be.
We've got to pick ourselves up. Obviously, it's Olympiacos next up. We've been talking about squad rotation. We did that right at the start of the show today. I guess we expect a different team against Olympiacos. There is pressure, obviously, on that game. It's a huge game away from home first. I know that Mikel Arteta has come out and not particularly happy that, obviously, Spurs are going to play at home, and the games had to be changed, didn't they? And I don't get, and I'm going to have another rant now, I don't get why the games had to be changed. I understand it if there's fans at Stadia, yeah, but there isn't. The whole thing with UEFA suggesting, look, we can't have two teams in the same city playing on the same night. I sort of get that. But the fact that there's no fans here, why should it matter? And why have we had to change games?
It's wrong. Ahead of the North London derby.
Yeah,
we've got to travel, and Spurs don't.
That's going to make it difficult, isn't it? It's Athens on a Thursday, you're getting back at whatever time, and then Sunday for the.
It's a huge leg up for Spurs. Yeah. It's an absolutely huge leg up for Spurs ahead of that game, and you make the most salient point. There's no fans. Emirates isn't that close to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I mean, it takes you a fair while to get there between those two grounds. Let me tell you. So why? It's just nonsense. It's just nonsense. And that call has made our task of winning the North London derby harder. It's as simple as that. And yeah, look, in terms of rotation, yeah, there might be a bit of rotation, but what we've got to do is dust ourselves down, not feel sorry for ourselves, make no mistakes, iron out these individual lapses in concentration, be more clinical, and we'll win the game because we're playing okay. Like for 3/4 of that game or 2/3 of that game, we played well today, but we didn't play well in the middle period, and that ultimately cost us, I think. So just got to make sure we play better for a more sustained period against Olympiacos, and of course get our revenge on them for last year.
Yeah, let's hope so. Adrian, enjoyed your company today. Again, if not the result, but we'll be back at it, of course, with that game against Olympiacos in midweek. 80 wins question of stats, incidentally. There's only 2 goals in the game, as you know, but it doesn't actually count for the competition. Not that 80 needs the points, let's face it. It's so far clear in that. But we will have proper points to contest for that North London derby next Sunday. That wraps it up from us for today. Many thanks for tuning in to the Breakdown Live. We'll have more for you on Thursday, first leg of the Europa League round of 16 against Olympiacos. Until then, have a good weekend. We'll see you soon.